live in Southern California.
And will you please tell me your overall story of
Of the choices that I made. Well, when I was 19 years old, I had graduated college. I became a hairdresser, and living with my boyfriend at the time, and just realized one day I didn't have my period, and I knew inside of myself that I was pregnant, but of course, you get a pregnancy test to verify that you're pregnant. So I went to the store and I came home and I took the pregnancy test and put the pregnancy test on the toilet, and it takes, at that time, back then, about 15 minutes before you get the results. But by the time I went into the bathroom, like 5 minutes later, it showed positive. So I was 19 years old and thinking that I was just getting my life started, my career started, and found out that I was 19, unmarried, and pregnant. So do you want me to tell you the whole story?
Yes.
Okay, so
Unless
I'm sorry?
unless
Okay. So my immediate thought when I saw that I was pregnant was, I have to get an abortion. Now, mind you, all my life up to that point, I did not believe in abortion. I thought it was wrong. But then when I became pregnant, it was different. You know, now you're in panic mode thinking, what am I going to do? I'm not married. I don't know what I'm going to do. Thinking, oh, my mom's going to kill me. She's not going to be happy with me. And all those lies, those thoughts that go through your mind. So immediately I called my boyfriend. He was out of town, and I told him that I was pregnant and that I wanted to get an abortion. And so when he came back, he cut his trip short and picked me up and took me to the facility that was doing abortions. And at that time, they didn't do abortions in the area that I lived in, which is Orange County. They did, but I wanted to be put to sleep. I wanted to be anesthetized because I didn't want to remember it. So when I went to Los Angeles, I remember driving into the parking lot, and all the pro-lifers were standing outside with the pictures of the babies. And when I drove into the parking lot, somebody tried to hand something to my boyfriend, and it was a flyer that showed the development of the baby. And what happened when he went to roll down the window, he didn't know what it was, but inside of myself, I knew what it was. And I just screamed, just keep driving. I don't want any of that material, because I didn't want to know the truth. And I said to myself, I don't want to know the truth. I'll deal with the consequences later. And I'm 54 years old today, and the consequences are I don't have any living children. When I went into the abortion mill that day, the room was filled with girls about my age, about at that time 18, 19 years old, 17 years old. And it took like 4 hours to complete the process because there were so many girls getting an abortion that day. And that was a day where they were doing only the abortion procedures. So once you go in there, you know, when you're standing outside the pro-life ministry and you're looking at the doors, you have no idea what's going on behind the doors. So when they called me in the back and it was my turn, there's this waiting room. And in the waiting room, they had cartoons on monitors around where all the girls were watching. And there must have been, I can't even tell you how many girls. It seemed like 15 girls sitting around waiting for either the blood test or the urine test. And so when they confirmed that I was pregnant, I was 12 weeks pregnant. And that's a fully developed baby at 12 weeks. And so when they put me into the room, I remember the nurse coming in and examining me, and she was cold as ice. And there was a curtain that separated me from the girl in the next gurney. And then the next gurney, it was like girl after girl. You didn't have a private room or anything like that. It was just a mill, basically. And at that time, I was crying so hard. I was crying convulsively. And I remember the nicest touch that I had that day, if you can imagine this being a nice touch, when they rolled my gurney out into the hallway. There was a doctor that was walking through the hallway and came and whispered in my ear and said, "Dear, if you keep crying like this, you're going to hurt worse after the surgery." And I just bit my lip and thought, I got to stop crying. I got to buck up. I can do this. So they rolled me into the next room, and there was a girl that was on the gurney next to me. Sorry, I have a wind chime here. There was a girl that was on the gurney next to me, and I remember them taking her away. And when they rolled her away, they put something at the foot of the gurney that I was on. And the doctor came up, put a needle in my arm because I was going to be under anesthesia. And when they rolled me into the room, it was a cold white room, and all the medical personnel were in there in their doctor's garb. And I remember the anesthesiologist coming with a mask and putting it on my face and said, count from 10 to 1, and when you wake up, it'll be over. So I counted 10, 9, 8, I was out. But I remember waking up in the room with a little lamp, and there were other girls, and I could hear them quietly crying. And I woke up on my stomach, and my baby was gone. There's no second chance for that baby. And so I spiraled out of control after that emotionally because I tried to bury the pain. I didn't realize it until years later. What I was doing was just trying to bury the pain of the fact that I had just killed my baby. And so I got involved in drugs and became very promiscuous. And what did I find? I was pregnant again. And so the logical choice, which was a little bit easier this time, was to go and abort that second child. And I named those babies Vincent and Alicia. You might ask why I named them, and I can tell you that later. But the second abortion that I went and did, it was a little bit easier than the first because I've already done it once. So I went and aborted the second and only child I would ever get to have. So that's kind of, in short, my story. But it's been more than 10 years, more than 20 years, and I never got a chance to have another baby again. So...
Are you married or single right now?
I'm married. I'm happily married.
What message would you like to send to mothers which are considering abortion?
You know, you might think it's easy choice, but just because you abort your baby doesn't make the baby go away. And it doesn't change the fact that you're a mother. And to be blunt, you're just the mother of a baby that's no longer here. And that heartache doesn't go away. It doesn't go away with just a little bit of grief. My encouragement would be, you can do this. And I tell you, once you complete that pregnancy, when you're holding that baby in your arms, there is no better joy than that. And no more amazing accomplishment than giving birth to your own baby. I've seen lots of moms do it. I long to do it. I long to hold my babies, and I'll never get that chance. So find someone that can encourage you through this pregnancy, but you can do this. You will be so forever regretful. It may not be immediately. It may not even be 1 year, may not even be 10 years, but it will hit you, the reality. Find the development of your baby and know that you're, at the stage that I aborted my baby at 11, 12 weeks, my baby could already suck his or her thumb. And sucking your thumb is pleasurable. So if my baby knew pleasure, my baby also knew pain. And I can't imagine the excruciating pain that my babies experienced in their death.
And why do you think that laws should protect this?
Why do I think that laws should protect the unborn? Well, it already is in our Bill of Rights. We all have the right to life, right? And the pursuit of happiness. So once life is created in the womb, it's life. So that person has a right to life. They say, okay, a woman has a right to her body. Well, what about if you're pregnant with a girl? Doesn't that girl have a right to her body? It's her body. I mean, there's a person's body inside of my body when I'm pregnant, and that's a life. And everybody has a right to life. I don't have the right to take the life of anybody's life. What you do have the right to do is to say no to sex outside of marriage. So you're not going to find yourself with an unwanted pregnancy. Now, sometimes you might be married and you had other plans, but let me tell you something. There's no greater joy than having a baby from, in a marriage. Two people that love each other and have a baby, that's an expression of your love. However, if you don't want a baby, there are other families that are dying to have a child and to adopt a child. And adoption is so different today. So consider life. That is my passion and my plea for any girl that's in a crisis pregnancy.
Amen. I have to ask this. It wasn't on my questions, but are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
So I am too. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor.
I'll let you know when the video's done.
Great. Well, you keep it up. And you know what? Proverbs 31:8, it says, open your mouth for the speechless and the cause of all who are appointed to die. And you're opening your mouth for that, for the speechless. And you know what? A life will be saved because of what you're doing.
Can you remember James 1:2-4? My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Luke. God bless you. Bye-bye.